Hi, everyone. Welcome to Blissfully Speaking. I'm Missy.
I'm Francesca Rose.
Thank you for joining us today. Today we have a very interesting guest, Miss Janice Lombardo. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate this very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I am a certified end-of-life doula, and I became certified in April of 2020 during the pandemic. I was actually going to drive out of state to become certified, but then the pandemic hit,
Yeah.
and so I wasn't going anywhere.
Yep.
And by serendipity, I found an online school in Canada called IAP College, and I took the courses, and it was 6 weeks. I finished in 4 and became certified as an end-of-life doula, or what they call a death doula.
Excellent. Yeah.
My
Cool.
story
That is-
begins.
Awesome.
What has led me up to this is I'm the oldest of 4 siblings, so I've always been the second in charge, so to speak. Everybody would come to me when they needed help or whatever, and so I was always the problem solver,
Right.
the caregiver, in addition to my parents, and doing all those other things that go along with being in a sibling hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the boss. I'm in charge. Yeah,
Yeah, I got some resistance with that, but that's
yeah,
okay.
It's normal. Yeah.
In 2000, I was diagnosed with stage 4 papillary thyroid cancer.
Oh, gosh.
And that was after an 8-year journey of asking every doctor I saw, what's this lump on my neck?
Oh my gosh.
And I was not advocating for myself because I was raised to believe that anyone in charge, priests, doctors, lawyers,
Yeah.
were all the ones who knew everything and don't you dare question.
Right,
and
exactly.
So
That's a huge
Yeah.
societal problem that definitely needs addressed.
Yes. Yes.
Going with your gut instinct.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, at that point in time, I had 2 little kids, and my daughter was 2, my son was 8. And just before Christmas, I went to a dermatologist for an unrelated issue. He said, your thyroid levels are really off, besides the fact that you could see this huge lump on
Oh,
my
my
neck.
gosh.
He sent me to an endocrinologist who was examining me about a week before Christmas, and he made this sound, and the sound just sent my heart into my stomach.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
And I knew something was definitely wrong. But he told me to come back in 3 months.
Oh, my gosh.
No, he didn't.
He did. He did.
Wow.
Love our healthcare system.
Oh, isn't it
Anyways,
good?
so I went back and they did a biopsy, and within a couple of weeks ended up having a complete thyroidectomy
Whoa.
because he said, you're lucky to be here.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, thank God,
Oh my
the
gosh.
dermatologist
Yeah.
found it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I think that in my journey to doing what I am doing today, this was something that I
Yeah.
needed to experience
Right.
because my experiences help anybody that I'm working with.
Exactly.
For sure.
So, fast forward, like I said, to the pandemic 2020, and I actually became a substitute teacher because in 2003 my mom was diagnosed with stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So at that point I wasn't working, and I became primary caregiver along with my father,
Right.
but I was also raising 2
Oh,
children
my gosh. Talk about a
and
full
working
plate.
full time and doing everything that needed to be done. So that 8-year period where she traveled along her cancer journey, I was right there with her.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so my journey was a little different than hers, and that was another learning process and trials by fire and learning
Oh,
about
yeah.
medical terminology and the fact that so many different doctors do not have the same protocols.
True.
So you are navigating through this maze, and you're also very, very worried and scared for your loved one who is
Yeah.
very sick, and then you have your children's needs on top of it. So juggling all of that,
That's a plate full.
it's huge.
It's huge. I mean, I don't even know how you had the mental capacity to just keep it together.
Well, there were days.
Sure, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
God for a daughter with a heart like you, because
Oh,
not many
gosh.
people with 2 little children are gonna be able to do that. Like,
Well-
that's a testament to your strength.
And
It
I
is.
appreciate that, but there are a lot of women women, because we are the nurturers
Yes,
and the
we are.
caregivers
Uh-huh.
who are living this life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's, either it's for an elderly loved one, or it's for a child, or
Right.
a spouse.
It's kind of our role.
Yes, so this is one of the things that AARP and the Pew Research Study has discovered, is that roughly 70% of caregivers in the United States are women.
Yeah.
And we've
Wow.
given up our jobs, and
Yes.
we've given up
Our
doing
lives.
anything for ourselves because we are in that role. And when you're dealing with someone who is very seriously ill, doctor's appointments, you can have 3 and 4
Oh,
in a
yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah.
And then, there's just trying to schedule all of that in addition to, if your child suddenly wakes up one
Right.
morning and he's sick,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh no, but
Yeah.
I have 2 appointments.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Throws everything back.
so, and I've lived that, and I know that there are so many other people out there who are living that life, and I applaud them, and I empathize with them.
Exactly.
It's hard.
And it's weird because, I've dealt with some things on my own, but noticing, you would think doctors speak to each other and take notes. They often don't. So you're like, wait a minute, don't you have that in your chart? So you are truly your own advocate. You
That's
need to
right.
be, because you can't just think, okay, well, take it for granted they have this information. They may not. And so you know what you know, and you're trying to be the middleman for your own health. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of plates in the air.
It is. And one of the other things that I have found in working with different doctors is that even though their patient is sitting right
Yeah.
there, you're the one asking questions, and then they start
Exactly.
talking to you.
Yeah.
And I've had to remind multiple times, you are talking to my
Right,
mother. I am not
exactly.
the patient.
Yeah.
You need to talk to her.
Yes.
And so, there are times when I'm taking copious
Uh-huh,
notes, and I'm looking
uh-huh.
down, and
Right,
I'm
sure.
looking away.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But my grandfather was a doctor, and he would always say, treat the person.
That's right.
Treat the person first. And yes, you should treat the person.
Absolutely.
Just because they're a patient, they're still a person, human being that needs help.
Right.
Yeah, just the humanity in that alone. And oftentimes they're so busy that you feel like you are truly, and he's in and out, you're a number. You're just, it's not
You're
a good
lucky
feeling.
if you're a number.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling.
No, not
a
at this
good
point.
feeling.
And since the pandemic, it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
Yes, light workers out
Yeah,
there, come
we
in.
need
We
you.
need your help.
Calling you in.
Yes,
For
for
sure.
sure.
Oh,
So
gosh.
needed.
So you're taking care of your mother and your father.
Well, my father was fine,
Mm-hmm.
but
Really? Yeah.
physically fine.
Yeah.
But, to support him in, his worry about my mom.
Yeah.
So physically I was supporting her, but mentally, emotionally, I was supporting both
Yeah.
of them.
Right.
Yeah,
you really
for
are.
sure.
Yeah.
So, and as an end-of-life doula, that's one of the things that you do. You provide heart-centered, holistic, non-medical support, guidance, and education to those folks that you are working with, whether they're family or a
Right.
client, or even just the caregivers.
Right.
Like I said,
I
want
love
to work
this
beautiful.
so much.
adult-child caregivers, because I
That's
was
beautiful.
one. I know,
You know what it
that
entails.
life.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
wish it on anyone, because I've seen way too many families implode. I've seen way too many family dynamics where, you have infighting
Yeah.
and all this, and
Emotions are high.
emotions are very high. But the other thing that I have noticed, and I really do want to make mention here, when you have a parent or a grandparent and they have their own money, they have bank accounts
Right.
and whatnot, I have seen so many grandchildren or children and family members wipe those accounts out.
That's sick.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then they end up taking their loved one and putting them in a nursing home and putting them on Medicaid because they have taken all of their assets.
I've seen it happen
my
gosh.
personally.
It's
cruel
and
beyond
not,
measure.
not cool.
No, it isn't, but it's unfortunate that it is really happening a lot.
Probably.
And anybody who's a caregiver who has any kind of ethics or morals
right.
really
Oof.
needs to understand that that is not your money.
Right, exactly. No, it is
That
not.
money is for your loved one. They have earned it their
Right.
entire
Yeah.
working life.
Right.
They need it for them.
their health.
And
Yes.
so I just want to throw that out there because it's really become a prevalent problem.
I would say
totally can relate and
gosh.
believe that. And it's just like you need to use your your conscience. Like, how can you do that to people you love? Not
Yeah.
that I'm throwing like anything out there, but like
It happens.
they need a lot of money too when they're
Yeah.
sick
Yeah.
for everything that they need, and
Yeah.
you want them to be as comfortable as possible.
And it's their legacy, it's
Right.
their right, it's
Exactly.
their possession.
Exactly.
And how dare you come in and do that to them?
That's unconscionable. Absolutely unconscionable.
Now, getting into another area of what an end-of-life doula does, the directive planning and final wishes.
Mhm.
I've seen far too many people not have these documents in place or not have thought about them or had any kind of conversations.
Why do you think that is?
Overwhelmed, underprepared.
Well,
no knowledge?
We live in a death-phobic society.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
We
good
don't
answer.
talk about
Yeah,
death.
Good
we
answer.
don't.
We don't learn about it from
Yeah.
our
That's true.
our religious institutions don't really delve
Not
into
prepared.
it. But it is one of those things where, oh, you know,
Yeah.
that's a far
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
off, and
Yeah.
I don't need that. And
Right.
sometimes when I tell people what I do, they physically back away from
Oh
me.
gosh. Oh my gosh. You're
Pretty
like,
much. Pretty much.
wow.
But the thing is, if you're over 18, you should have something in place.
Yeah.
Because time
Yeah.
is not guaranteed to any of us.
No, it's not.
Life is finite.
Right.
We need to embrace that fact, prepare for it, and go and live.
That's right.
Yeah.
Go
Exactly.
enjoy your life, do
Yep.
what you need and want
Yep.
to do,
But be
and
prepared.
be prepared, because when the sudden catastrophe happens, it's
A mess.
so chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because you're not just able to use your brain to think, you are using your emotions. And when that
Exactly.
runs the show,
Mhm.
you have serious, serious problems.
Yeah. No, it's
What-
easier on everyone
yeah.
if you're prepared.
What are some things you think that people can put in place to have prepared? Because, like, honestly, I'm one of those people, I have nothing prepared because, like, I'm just too busy with life. But, like, what is something, like, small steps we can do, like that you help prepare people with?
Well, I actually have a 10-page checklist, the before and after someone dies checklist
Oh,
that
that's
I
great.
give away to people, and we can talk about if anybody wants
Wow.
that. They can
Oh, that's
email
great.
me, and we'll talk about that at the end.
Do you have an email address?
I do. Mhm.
Yeah,
I have a
we'll make
website,
sure
an
we
email,
get
and
like
all
all
that.
that
We'll
to
get
give
that up.
to the viewers.
Yeah.
Right, and so the most simple thing you can do in the beginning is get a will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put a will together.
Yep.
You can get them for free online. Don't have to register them anywhere. Sometimes, depending on the state that you live in, you might have to have them witnessed or
Right.
notarized.
Right.
But it just depends on which state you're in.
Right.
Okay.
Make sure that you have a living will.
Mhm.
Living wills are handed out by most hospitals or doctor's offices.
Mm-hmm.
Living wills are great to have a start. It's a checklist system, but with the way that our medical system
Yeah.
works today, one doctor might look at that and say, well, I'm not going to follow this because it's not a life-threatening situation, but then they're going against your wishes.
Exactly.
So you really need to have that document as well as a power of attorney.
Very
So
good tip.
powers of attorney for your medical and for your financial, they can either be the same person, two
Yep,
different
right.
people. The other thing I highly recommend is that you have an alternate.
Oh
You
yeah, that's a good
put
idea.
someone in place that they must have agreed to
Yes.
it. Don't just decide to put all this
Right.
documentation together and then something catastrophic happens and, you know, the niece that you picked
Right.
is looking and going, oh, I'm not touching that.
Right. Right.
So
right.
that's a hot potato.
Yeah, that's a hot potato. Yeah. Pass. Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, to have those documents in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And make
exactly.
sure that you have them where someone will find them.
Mhm. They know where they are.
That's right, because a lot of the different ways to do it, you can do it electronically, but files can become corrupted.
Yes, they can.
So I always like to say, if you want to do it electronically, that's great, but put hard
Hard
copies
copy.
into a 3-ring binder and just lay it all out.
Yep.
That way, they
Yep.
can flip through it.
Right.
It's easily organized. Anybody can look at it and take care of it.
Everybody can see it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I know that there are some folks out there who have huge amounts of assets and whatnot. So There are other things that you can do with legal counsel that, will help protect those assets or divide them up how you want them.
Exactly.
But you got to put that stuff in place.
You do.
And if you don't have it in place, then the state is going to be very happy.
Oh, yes, they
Wow.
will. They're going to come want their part.
That's
They
right.
certainly will.
This is
Yeah.
why we need a death doula, because
Yes.
we need their support, because even talking about this list, I'm getting stressed out.
I know.
So I can see why you are so important.
But it's so
because
helpful for the
it is.
family.
Wow.
For the families.
I didn't know like this even existed.
You know, it lays it all out. You know what to expect. You just follow 1, 2, 3, 4, and your life is a lot more manageable
It
in a
is.
chaotic time.
Right, right.
Definitely.
And I learned this the hard way
Yeah.
because with my mom, we never had these discussions.
Mm-hmm,
She never told us that she wanted to die at home
Mm.
until we found out because she declined so very rapidly.
Oh, jeez.
Aw.
And
sorry.
we were planning her funeral while she was actively dying,
Oh,
which I
gosh.
don't recommend
Don't
for
recommend
Oh,
anyone
that is
Yeah.
ever
so
to do.
much
Yeah.
stress.
No.
Because, it was incredibly stressful.
Yeah. Yeah.
My goal when I was taking care of her was to keep her alive.
Yeah.
Death
Definitely.
never
Right.
even crossed my purview.
Right.
I was not even there. So that whole situation blindsided me.
I bet.
And, trying to make sure that I was still taking care of my kids.
Exactly.
And
Oh, yeah. Still
husband.
got people over here.
Superwoman.
Right, right.
Wow.
Right.
You are mentally tough.
Yeah.
You really are.
Well, it took me a long time after she passed. I had a lot of things to work through.
Well, that's normal, but you see.
But the
you've done
grief
a-
process,
Oh,
yeah.
the grief, and it is a process.
Yes.
Exactly, and it rears its ugly head here and there.
Yes.
It is. You're right, but we really do need more people like you, and thank you for educating us in the do's and don'ts of what to do in that case, because none of us are getting out of here alive. We need to have our ducks in a row. We need to know what, our own families. We need to know what to do when that time comes.
This is so
It's
true.
coming for
Death
everybody.
consciousness.
Yeah, death
Death
consciousness.
consciousness, yes.
Right, that's
Yes.
very wise.
Well, my tagline is we plan for birth, let's plan for death too.
Love it.
I love that. Mine's
Yeah.
I'm just here for the party.
I love it. Right. I'm just over here being peaceful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly. You're 100% spot on. That is such good advice.
Yes.
Very knowledgeable. Very
Yeah, I
very
love
good
that.
advice. And I'm so happy we got to talk to you today.
Wait, we have to ask her.
Oh, right. Say
I
it.
have one question for you that we ask everybody. What is one thing you can do right now to bring more bliss into your life?
One thing, what would be at the top of that list? Self-care is self-love.
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
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 Because when you're a caregiver or a support person, you're oftentimes not part of that self-care because you are too busy taking
Focusing.
care of everyone else.
Right.
So
We
yes.
just had this conversation.
We sure
I
did.
said that you need to take care of you first because you have to be the highest version of you so that you can
Exactly.
overflow to the people and give them the best of you.
That's
so if you don't
Exactly.
take care of yourself, you're
Yep.
not going to be your best
You
self for
can't
everybody
give
else.
from an empty cup.
That's the selfish thing, to not take care of yourself because you don't
Right.
give the best of you.
Right.
True.
That's-
You can't help
Yeah.
anybody from an empty cup.
You
Yep.
really can't. That
Love
that
it.
does not work. Well, thank you again for being here. Greatly appreciated. Enjoy talking with you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, this was great,
This was
and you
great.
are so needed in this
Oh my
world.
gosh.
And we thank you for doing this because this isn't an easy job.
not an
By
easy
no
job.
means, you have to have a very deep heart to serve at people's hardest points in their
Yep,
life.
Yep. And just being there for people you love and being organized and efficient is important.
Yes.
It makes a
important.
huge difference.
Oh yeah.
And having something to follow, a guideline or something, is better than trying to wing it.
Oh,
Right, I don't
definitely,
recommend- no.
definitely.
Exactly. Well, thank you again for being here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
See you next time, and you can get her information on down below at the links you'll see on there.
Yes.
Thank you again.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.